Morning guys, this is John with One Big Impact. Today we are going to show you how to remove and clean the carburetor on a 5 horsepower outboard motor Briggs & Stratton 4-cycle. The carburetor is right here. You can see what we have ahead. I have over here a few of the tools that we're going to need. Along the way, if I end up needing more, I'm going to make sure I post those and show you. First of all, we're going to need a 3/8 with a screwdriver, and that's for the bolts mounting it to the side of the motor. This small crescent wrench is going to be for taking the bowl off. The wire brush is going to be to get the corrosion off once we get inside, and the little 8mm ratchet is going to be for taking off these bolts right here on the outside. You're going to want to be real careful not to tear or rip any of the gaskets. If you do, you're going to have to replace them. So you also want to check for corrosion and everything along the way. If it needs to be replaced, simply replace it. It's easier to do it now than to put it back together and have to do another job on taking it apart and everything. Okay, so right here, first thing you're going to do is take off the outside bolts that hold the whole thing together here. Use a small ratchet for the simple fact that it's a small motor and we don't want to put too much torque onto anything. Take these off nice and slow. Carburetor is a delicate thing. We have no reason to go fast. Just take it nice and easy. There's the bolt that you have there. You got that out of there. Next, you're going to take off your fuel line to make sure there's no gas. Turn the gas off. So we've got these two bolts removed, and we've got the gas line removed, and this first bolt here. We're taking off the last bolt on the side, and I'm going to use a crescent wrench because it's hard to access with the socket. So to show you a little trick here, what's seeming to work best, now don't think this is going to be an easy process by any means. It's going to be slow, but putting my nut driver extension on there, as you can see, it's kind of hard and difficult to get up in there. So what we do is actually put it on a crescent wrench on the end of it to turn it little by little. So the carburetor is beginning to drop out. You want to hold your thumb on this guy here and slowly drop down, and the linkage is going to release. Slowly come out. Make sure you're not ripping or tearing any rubber or paper gaskets here. And this is your carburetor. So we are going to continue the process of cleaning now. So here's what it looks like after we got the seat, the spacer, and the gasket behind it. It looks a little rough around the edges, but where it actually meets up with where the carburetor mounts, there is no visible tear or cracks or anything, which is good. And I want you to start by actually taking the bowl here off, which some people use the 1/2-inch wrench. I'm going to use a small crescent. Try to keep as many tools with me that I can use for different parts at all times. Okay, so here's a few things that you're going to need. I use the hemostaphs to take the pin out of the float, which is, it's kind of hard to see right there. Be the pin out of the float. We took the bowl off. You want to make sure that O-ring there is nice and tight, that it's not all cracked or damaged. I cleaned my bowl out a couple days ago, but you're also going to want to make sure inside this ring here it's not all corroded. If it is, go ahead and replace it. Also replace that O-ring if it needs it. And when we're cleaning out the jets, we're going to have, I used a little piece of brake line from a bicycle because it's got the natural spiral, kind of like a pipe cleaner, to clean it out. Also very important, when you're looking at your bolt, this one's even corroded and it's only been in there a few days. Go ahead and clean that real good. Make sure your washer's still good, and don't forget to put it back on also. So we're going to take the float out. So we removed the float, and the needle's got some serious corrosion on it. We need to spray that down with carb cleaner. And also, as my wife says, this gasket is ruined and we're going to change it out and put a new one on. We're not going to put it back together, she says, because it's junk. And next we're going to ream out the jets by putting this little wire in there, pulling in and out. Honey, hush.
I'm sorry, I'm emotionally immature.
Yeah, I know. It's a jet.
You're reaming it in and out.
Okay, so we're going to spray all this out. You can see the corrosion, and we're going to use that little wire brush here to get the corrosion off the side. You can see how it's discolored and brown. A little bit rust and condensation must have got in there. And now what we're doing here is we sprayed it with carb cleaner and we're just letting it sit. As you can see, we're using canvas that we actually used over there, and we're using it here because it doesn't put lint inside what we're working on. So we're kind of letting the carb cleaner sit in there and fester a little bit so that we can clean it up. So it's definitely always a good idea to have your old lady, if she's OCD, go ahead and clean this out. I mean, if you want something real particular, let the pro do it. So we got the carburetor cleaned and all done. Let's put it back together. We used some little scraper tools, got it real nice and cleaned out inside there. And we're gonna put it back in, see what we can do.